Great. Thank you for joining and welcome to today's program on the love of leafy greens. Today, we're going to be talking about the health benefits of eating leafy greens and maybe introduce you to some new ways to add them into your diet. My name is Marlene Atkin. I'm a health coach and health educator. So welcome to today's program. So when it comes to vegetables, America's favorite vegetables, most of us are pretty satisfied eating the same things day in and day out. And studies have shown that most shoppers actually buy the same 5 or 6 produce items every single week. Survey on America's favorite vegetables found that the top 5 were corn, potatoes, carrots, onions, and tomatoes were the 5th. And, most health practitioners suggest that we should eat the rainbow, meaning that we should be eating fruits and vegetables of all different colors and kinds. And that way we reap the most benefits because different colored vegetables have different levels of antioxidants and different kinds of vitamins and minerals in them. So, the more diverse your selection is, the more health benefits that you would get from that. And adding leafy greens is a delicious way to get more color and variety into your diet. So when it comes to incorporating leafy greens, using lettuce is probably one of the easiest ways because that's the base of most of our salads. But there are a lot of lettuce variations to choose from. We have head lettuces such as iceberg lettuce or butter lettuce. Now, head lettuce will get its name from the round shape. And they're commonly, most common in grocery stores. And they're very versatile and generally economically not too expensive to use. And the health benefits and nutritional content of all these different lettuces varies based on the variety. Today's program, Beyond the Iceberg, iceberg lettuce is one of the most common lettuces you find in the grocery store. But it is a lettuce type with a lower amount of nutrients because it's mostly made up of water and doesn't have as much fiber, but it still does contain some vitamins and minerals. And the water is great because it's hydrating. And because it has a very mild flavor or taste, it's still a good low-calorie way to get some of those vitamins and minerals into your diet and to fill up with a higher volume but low calorie and relatively healthy leaf. So and it's relatively inexpensive and has a pretty long shelf life. Romaine lettuce is another common lettuce that you see in the grocery stores. It's a more hardy leaf than the iceberg, and the sturdy texture allows it to be used in a variety of different ways. Romaine's high in minerals like calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium. It's naturally low in sodium and also packed with vitamin C, vitamin K, and folate. And, vitamin K is one of those things that you find in a lot of leafy greens that's very good for bone health and for proper blood clotting. So romaine is the leaf you'll see most often used in things like a Caesar salad. And they even have little baby romaine lettuces that you see out there now, which make a very pretty presentation. And then you get into all like your green leaf and red leaf lettuces. Those are the kind of lettuce leaves that you'll find in a lot of what they call mesclun mixes. They have a more tender leaf. And then butter lettuce is another mild, very mild lettuce, has a little bit of a slightly sweet taste. That's the one down on the bottom right corner that you see there. The leaves are tender, but they're really good because they bend well. You can use those for wraps, making lettuce wraps with sandwiches and things like that. Similar to Boston, Bib lettuce is another kind of a butter lettuce, similar to the Boston leaf lettuce, but smaller in size. So they all have a lot of different names. And then there's loose leaf lettuces. Those are the kind of lettuces you find in mixes like baby romaine or spring mix. So that's your starting point. So all of these are, generally something that you're going to have raw in salads, using as a condiment in sandwiches, or basing a salad off of it. And really a great way to start introducing all of those wonderful vitamins and antioxidants and nutrients into your diet. Then we start going into, kind of the superfood lettuces, when things like spinach, arugula, kale, baby kale, things like that. Spinach is been touted as a superfood, and for good reason. It's packed with vitamin K and vitamin A, as well as folate. Folate plays a key role in your red blood cell production, and in preventing neural tube defects like spina bifida for pregnancy. Spinach is a pretty mild flavor, and it can be used in things like smoothies without having the taste, but getting the benefits of it. It can be cooked or eaten raw. If you have, the baby spinach leaves make a great base for salads. Also great for juicing. It's just a very versatile, very mild, but nutrient-packed green. Kale, we all know kale. Kale is like the superhero of superfoods these days, and it's really for a good reason as well. It contains fiber, antioxidants, calcium, vitamins C and K, a little bit of iron, and a wide range of other nutrients that can help you prevent different health problems. It's actually a member of the mustard family, but it's been linked to the ability to help manage blood pressure, digestion, all kinds of things. Now with kale, the larger leaves, you need to take out the center vein on them, and you can use it in salads, but it has a thicker texture, so it's generally recommended that you would massage that with a little oil. Also great cooked in soups. You can use it in smoothies as well. Baked into chips, it holds up. If you cook it in a low oven for a long period of time and season it, you can have kale chips. And then there is baby kale as well, that is tender and doesn't really require as much of the chopping and stuff. Arugula, which is the top picture, is also known as rocket, and that is a leafy green plant that, again, calcium, potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, high levels of vitamin C and folic acid, vitamin A, E, K, lots of little bits of B vitamins as well. Compared to other leafy greens, arugula is low in oxalates, and oxalates are chemicals that can sometimes inhibit absorption of mineral into your body. Sometimes people say they can't eat spinach because of oxalates. It depends on your particular body chemistry, but arugula would be an option if that were the case. And arugula has a little bit of a peppery taste, a little bit bitter, but it's really great used in pestos. You can cook it a little bit in omelets, juice with it, use it in smoothies, and with a pasta often, you'll see it. But the bitter taste really works well with citrusy kind of dressings and such. So those are our super greens. Then we move into some other greens that you'd see in the grocery. These are all part of the chicory family. Chicories are really closely related to lettuces, but they're a little bit hardier and they have a little bit more of a bitter edge. They typically will grow in cooler weather and come into the season later in the fall. So types of chicories, things like radicchio, this beautiful red head of lettuce, it's something you'll find chopped up in mixes often. It adds a beautiful punch of color, slightly bitter taste, but great when you mix it with other greens. Then there's endive, which is upper left corner. That has a great crunch, and it's a relatively small head of lettuce, so those leaves are really terrific to pull off and use for dipping, or even as an hors d'oeuvre. You can pack it with some kind of a filling. So endive has a crispier, crunchier taste. Down in the bottom right, you see the leaves of frisee. So frisee is that really curly kind of lettuce you'll see sometimes in salads. Lighter in color too, kind of can be almost yellowy in color. It's pretty bitter, but it does pair really well with like a creamy dressing that would, it has the ability to hold up to that. And then the bottom left is escarole, which is another chicory, and that's generally used in soups or stews. The Italian wedding soup usually has escarole in it, and but it can also be added to raw salads as well. So this is a whole nother layer of greens that you can use in adding a little bit more flavor, profile, and colors into your leafy greens. So then we start to get into a little bit hardier types of greens. And this is a great place to experiment a little bit as well. So things like beet greens, the chards, collard greens, dandelion greens, you'll see these, generally they're not packaged. You'll see them generally loose in the produce sections. Beet greens are the edible leafy tops of actual beets. And you can see that in the top right corner there. And like beets in general, they are brimming with vitamin K, which again helps with blood clotting and is also linked to a lower chance of type 2 diabetes. And 1 cup of beet greens actually gives you nearly twice your requirement of vitamin K. When you're cooking beet greens, you can usually want to be sauteing them down with oil and seasonings and things like that, or you can chop them and add them to frittatas or soups or pasta dishes. Swiss chard on the bottom right here, you see a variety of different chard. And the rainbow chard, the stems are just absolutely beautiful colors. You can see all the different shades in there, and that's called rainbow chard. And it's sold packaged like that, or you can just get the red chard, the red vein chard. Both of these are great sources of lutein, and that's the antioxidant that's really good for your eyes. And they're only about 7 calories a cup for raw chard. To preserve nutritional value on these kind of greens, you want to just lightly steam them and toss them with oil. You can also use the leaves of these to make tacos and other kind of wraps. I'll actually show you a recipe at the end using Swiss chard. It makes a beautiful side dish, and it is hearty, so it can stand up to cooking with oil and such. Collard greens are something that similar in texture to a kale or a cabbage. They have really thicker leaves. That's the upper left-hand corner, and a slightly bitter taste. They're really one of the best sources of vitamin K, also a really good source of calcium. I know we always think that we need to be drinking milk and dairy for calcium, but a lot of our leafy greens also provide a good level of calcium. So collard greens have a little bit of a bitter taste, really good source of calcium, vitamin A, B9, and even vitamin C. And you also often see collard greens used in Southern cooking. They stand up to like long and slow cooking like you do in a soup or stew. They also make another great substitute for wraps or for cabbage rolls. And you can also use collard greens when you are juicing. Dandelion greens are the bottom left there. Those can be eaten raw or served slightly juiced or cooked. They're an excellent source of vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin K. They also contain vitamin E and folate and a small amount of those B vitamins, and a lot of minerals, including iron and calcium and magnesium. The notable health benefit of dandelion greens is that it can help regulate your blood pressure and lower inflammation in the body. They also help to detoxify. Despite the bitter taste in dandelion greens, You can use them as a regular salad green with maybe a citrus rich or a sweet vinaigrette to counteract the sweetness, excuse me, the bitterness. And these are really popular for blending into morning smoothies because of that detoxifying effect that you get. But you can also throw them into soups and stews, or just chop them up and use them even as a pesto base. So dandelion greens are another hardy green. So you can see there's lots of different greens to choose from here, in different leaf sizes, different colors, great ways to add different greens to your diet. And then we go from these really large hardy greens into our tiny little greens. You know, great things can sometimes come in very small packages. And what you see here is microgreens, our watercress, bok choy, all smaller variations and more tender. The baby version, when you're looking at microgreens, it's usually the baby or just seeded version of things like radish, cabbage, kale, broccoli, arugula. And they are generally higher in nutrients like vitamin C and E, that have more of that than the more mature plant. The range in flavors is everything from, you know, tangy to peppery. And they're also really, microgreens are really easy to grow at home. I'll show you when we're off how I've been growing some microgreens here. And then the bottom left is watercress. Watercress is similar to arugula, but a much smaller leaf. A little bit of that peppery taste like arugula. Again, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin K, other antioxidants that are really good for you. A cooking tip is watercress can make sandwiches and salads a little bit more lively. So just even adding that in, or blending the greens, watercress greens, into a soup when you puree is a nice choice. The bottom right corner, we have some bok choy, and this is actually baby bok choy. You can grow it bigger and bigger heads. It's a member of the cabbage family, and it contains a lot of fiber and protein, vitamin A and C, all those antioxidants. Usually you'll see bok choy used in Asian cooking, so it's really terrific for stir frying. Baby bok choy can be steamed, sauteed, just a really nice, delicious flavor, but you'll often see bok choy used in a stir fry. So bok choy is another great choice in the greens. So, you know, as we've talked about, the health benefits of eating leafy greens is really vast. It helps improve everything from bone health, you know, being a source of calcium and vitamin K. It helps to strengthen your bones. Eating an adequate amount of vitamin K can also reduce the risk of bone fracture. Helps your brain. Leafy greens contain high levels of folate, which is a B vitamin. B vitamins facilitate the production of chemicals that can help your brain transfer messages to your body better, and also helps to slow cognitive decline. It helps with your skin health. Leafy greens have beta carotene, which is a form of vitamin A. It works from the inside out on your skin as a natural sunscreen, helps to protect from UV rays. Beta carotene is also good for your eye health, and we mentioned some of them have lutein, another great nutrient for eye health, and helps to prevent macular degeneration. Hydration, water makes up about 95% of most of the raw lettuces, and as a result, when you eat lettuce, it can help hydrate your body. In addition, those leafy greens can reduce bloating because they have high levels of potassium, which is essential to helping keep optimum fluid balance in your body. And the magnesium in leafy greens can also help to support your cardiovascular health. So the hydration and the minerals, magnesium and potassium, all are great regulators for your heart and for your body. And in terms of digestion, you know, leafy greens, like all vegetables, most vegetables have a great fiber in them. This helps your gut health. It helps keep everything moving and keeps your gut healthy, helps to increase the good microbes in your gut. But particularly when we come to leafy greens, they contain a pigment called chlorophyll, and that's exactly what gives them their green color. And chlorophyll is a really good detoxifier. So it helps to help your liver detoxify. And that's why you'll often see a variety of greens or green drinks included in so-called detox diets or programs, but they're really great detoxifiers. So I've got a little recipe up here. I know if you want to grab a screenshot of it, this is something with Swiss chard. But basically, when we're talking about leafy greens, certainly you've got your salads. They're great to eat raw. They can be eaten raw or cooked, depending on which one. While raw leafy greens provide the optimum levels of like folate and all the water-soluble vitamins, sometimes cooking them a little bit makes them easier to digest and a little bit easier for your body to absorb. So trying out different greens and eating them in different ways, both raw, cooked, juice, is a great choice. So this little recipe here is just shows you how quick and easy it is to expand your repertoire of leafy greens. So this is with Swiss chard, but you could do this same recipe with any of those hardy greens. The beet greens could be eaten this way as well. And just real simple way to cook those up. And so I am going to stop sharing here. I hope you got a picture of that, and let me get this going. I'm going to open up a little chat box here so that folks, if you have any questions, welcome to my kitchen. And we've got some leafy greens over here, and just show you some of the leafy greens and how to prep them. So this is the Swiss chard that we saw in the recipe, and you can see there are these really big, beautiful leaves, but different sizes. You'll from low to bit to high, and they have this gorgeous colored dark stem. So when you're preparing a leaf like that, the recipe calls for really just cutting that stem out. So I'm just going to cut that out there, and both the stem and the leaves can be eaten. You would just chop up the stem. Now, when you're out buying leafy greens, the things you want to look for is you want it to be brightly colored. You don't want it to be, faded up or whatever. You don't want to have a lot of damage to the leaves. You don't want them all ripped up and everything. And then even in terms of if they're stemmed, you want that stem to look pretty moist. You don't want that to be all dried out. So those are ways to look for your leafy greens. So with something like this, the stem is completely edible, and this, you'll saute down in the oil as well. But on the leaves, something like this, I'm just going to cut that stem out and throw that into a salad spinner. And if you don't have a salad spinner, you could wash each of these individually. I've done that with heads of romaine. You want to always wash out your greens because they do tend to hold sand and dirt in the leaves, as well as little critters sometimes like to live in there and eat off of it. So you always want to wash your greens. So salad spin is great. It's just this little colander basket in here, and I'll just tear these leaves off and throw them in here and rinse those out through the colander. Get this out, rinse the colander, just give them a good rinse all the way around. And what's great with the salad spinner is you pop this top on here and give it a twirl. If I can get this going. There it is. Where it is? Oh, there it is. Mine's not working very well here. Anyway, I will spin all of the moisture out of these leaves, and then once they're dried out, you might still, I don't know what I did wrong with this. It's not working well for me. Once they're dried out, you would cut them up and use them either in your salad or your cooking, however it is. So that's what you want to do, especially with your big leaves. Now, this is kale here that I have here. And with kale, the heads, you could have bigger leaves from them. And again, a lot of times you're going to be pulling this off the stem. Now, kale can be a pretty thick leaf. So once I get these cleaned up, you want to kind of throw it in a bowl and just add a little oil to that and literally massage that leaf. And the olive oil, the oil you use is going to soften that leaf up quite a bit and help make that a little bit more digestible. So that's a great thing to do with the kale. Now, once I have these all done, I can use this in a salad. If you were doing a salad, there's oil in your salad dressing. You just want to really mix it well with the salad dressing so you don't have to do the oil ahead of time. With something like this, these leaves you pull off a kale, this makes a great little snack. I could take this and put it in a very low oven for probably 20 minutes or so and kind of dehydrate it, and it becomes a really crunchy little snack. Throw a little bit of garlic powder or some kind of a seasoning on that and have that going. So that's my kale. Now, when you go into the grocery store, you can find a lot of the greens that have already been processed and washed. You just want to make sure that they are triple washed. Baby spinach, baby arugula, really easy way to add a bunch of different greens to your diet. Usually these baby leaves are a little bit less bitter and really easy to use. So, even if most of the time you do a light, like an iceberg lettuce, and just grabbing maybe one of those little baby packages and trying a few leaves in at a little bit at a time, just to help you acclimate a little bit to a hardier green, is a great way to start adding some more variety and interest into your salads and your salad bases. And then we talked about microgreens. So they do sell these in the grocery now. So this is arugula here. And you can see, so this is before the green really has had a chance to mature. So this is my baby arugula. And then these are the little microgreens. And so they really haven't, picture this as like a nutrient powerhouse right here with this. They really haven't had a chance to mature into the leaves yet, but they're very, very tender. They make a great addition to, I top my avocado toast or pastas, anything, throw raw microgreens on top. And they can be a little pricey in the grocery stores, but what I have going on over here, I am growing my own microgreens at home. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to maybe take it out of here. Take the whole tray out. So these are little microgreens that I'm growing at home. I have a machine here that grows them, but they're just the little germs, the seeds are germinating, and they grow, takes a couple of weeks, and then they grow, and I just cut those off, and I have really super fresh microgreens. So this is actually an arugula baby green. But there are a lot of different ways you can grow these at home, and they're very mild. So if you want to try different leafy greens to add to your diet and maybe try to grow some at home, there are a lot of ways. This machine, this little setup here, it's not actually a machine, is something you can buy, and you can put 3 different trays, 3 different microgreens. I only do one at a time because that's all I can eat while they all kind of grow the same way in just a couple of weeks. But you can grow these in a mason jar with the seeds. You can look that up, Google that, how to grow microgreens at home. But these are super delicious and a great way if you are a little adverse to some of the stronger, more bitter tastes of leafy greens. They're a great way to start to experiment with other types of leafy greens to add to your salads and to your dishes. And they also make a really, really pretty topping. So that is a lot of information about leafy greens. I am just going to stop the recording here, and I can stay on for a little bit of time if anybody would like to